a gallon. I mean, my goodness.
Hello, YouTube. It's
it's not a fun experience
Monday.
right now. If you're paying attention
Like,
to the news
I forgot the date.
Biden
Monday, June 20th,
saying we may be going into a recession.
2022.
They're trying to talk us out of it. I mean, what they're afraid of is
Monday, June 20th, 2022, 9:54 a.m. Just woke up a little bit ago, and this is not the time I'm normally up during the day. In fact, I'm usually either sound asleep right now, or I'm in bed and I'm trying to get to sleep. But it's when I've actually gotten, obviously not enough sleep, but I've gotten a decent amount of sleep, and I'm up. So this is probably the time for me to try and make it over to the mental health clinic and try to reconnect with my therapist and my case manager and maybe even my benefits specialist to see if I still qualify for. Since I lost my SNAP benefits, see if it's possible to re-get them.
It wasn't they're just hiring for one job; they're hiring for anything. I kept saying to my wife, "Like, maybe we should get you a second job. Maybe we should get you, bring a little extra cash in to help pay for the gas."
So I got KTAR on, and it's popped on the radio, and they're just talking about. They're talking about the economy, talking about the rising cost of gas, and just how
wages are up.
Well,
if you're not
making
more, you think you should be making more. I mean, I'll be frank with you. You should be out there looking for another job. We've had more people leaving jobs for other jobs in the history of the country. There's a lot of good going on right now, but the inflation is bringing us down, and it's causing, it's almost like just a negative feeling about it. So for a lot of people, look, it's like I just said, if you're spending an extra $2,000, $2,500 a year on gas, and then more on rent and more on food, everything else, it's hard. Like, you might have been okay financially, you're doing okay, you're
sick of the moron
money away, and now you can't do that anymore.
I feel like a moron paying so much for rent.
But for a lot of folks who already own their house, their mortgage is locked in, they own their car, it's not fun.
Thank God I own my car.
A lot of people are kind of doing okay. So it is an interesting thing where you're looking at this saying, are we going to go into a recession because the stock market is going down and inflation is high? But at the same time, if we're all working, if we all have jobs, if we're all making more money than we made before, I don't know. I'm not seeing it yet. I mean, when you go out right now, I'm curious of what your impression is. I see people out shopping and spending money. I mean, it is right now, everything on its face looks good, but I know behind the scenes it's getting scary. All right, on the other side, we're going to talk about this. Carrie Lake, she's leading in the gubernatorial race in the Republican primary, but some pretty crazy news that came out this weekend. I'll give you an update on what it is next. I'm Barry Markson in for Broomhead. It's KTAR.
Definitely eager to hear that. Anyway, I'm, like most everybody else who's not wealthy, especially those of us who are renters and don't own property. Yeah, I'm really looking at finances and my circumstance, and if you follow this vlog at all, the biggest disruptor in my circumstance is a girlfriend who's not really filling the role of girlfriend anymore. And I watched a video this morning after I got home from work. The newest video in the series last week with John Oliver, and I don't agree politically with John Oliver on most things, but man, his video this week is so on point. Just about how rent is becoming unaffordable for more and more people, and I had quite an existential panic, last May, wondering if I would be able to afford rent in June, because I didn't, Arizona doesn't really have any protections for renters. I mean, it has some renter protection, but it doesn't really have. There's nothing at all that would have stopped my landlord from deciding, oh yeah, this is the end of your lease period. By the way, your rent is double starting in June. He could have done that. He very much could have. And right now, the rent where I'm at is dramatically below what market rent is in the part of town I live in for the amount of square footage that I have. Now, granted, amenities is debatable. My kitchen is horrifically dated. And then add to that I have a roommate that likes to cook and make messes, but not do any cleaning. My kitchen's absolutely disgusting. But, you know, I'm actually thankful I have a landlord doesn't kick me out for that, because I do consistently pay my rent on time. Anyway, this went further on, this particular, oh wow, this guy on the motorcycle has got a death wish. He's going to pass me on the left. Whee! And just for a frame of reference, I'm doing like 74 in a 65, and that guy just passed me like I'm a slow driver. So, yeah. You know, guy's playing with fire. Motorcyclists die on these highways a lot. But there's very little in the way of law enforcement on the freeways nowadays. So, I'm more likely to get in a fatal accident than he is to get a speeding ticket, unfortunately. Anyway, it's 9:59. I'm pretty sure this ceased being a carpool lane. It's at 9 a.m. If it doesn't until 10 a.m., yeah, I'm close enough. Anyway, that guy's speeding, I think, is more egregious than me maybe using the carpool lane during the wrong time of the day. Although I'm super curious, what the hell time is the cutoff? I know it's 3 to 7 in the afternoon. Morning. 6 to 9. Yeah, so this has just been a regular traffic lane for an hour.
Considering a suspension of the federal gas tax, and said he hopes to make a decision by the end of the week. That could potentially save motorists about 18 cents every gallon. This comes as inflation soars to a 40-year high of 8.6%.
I'm so torn on that. Part of me is just like, holy shit, gas is expensive as fuck, and I'm really struggling. But then I see people driving these giant Terminator trucks. So obviously gas isn't too expensive because they're driving them. And if this subsidy is being provided for people who do drive, what comparable subsidy is being given for people who don't drive? So, you know, is these extra discounts on gas, are they being paid for by the income taxes of those who don't drive? Because that doesn't seem fair. Throwing that out there.
There is no proven benefit.
Anyway,
God,
amazing how quickly I get to the clinic this time of the day by driving this direction. You have the green light, dude. Why are you driving so slow?
Player dead, 8 others injured. There have been no arrests. This is a hunt for answers continues with more hearings investigating the police response to the Uvalde shooting.
Oh, I'm so sick of hearing about the Uvalde shooting. And I am stuck behind some kind of a construction vehicle. You know, I know 3rd Street is under construction, and I should have known better than to go this route. I mean, this is the obvious no-brainer, logical driving route to the clinic from where I live, but yeah, because of this construction, maybe I should have just gone up 7th Street. Hopefully this guy will get out of my way eventually. Holy shit. I'm not even registering on my speedometer. So I am glad they're putting in a stoplight here at 3rd Street in Willetta. That intersection has become pretty hectic lately, so good to see that going in. I think that'll help. There's been a traffic light here at 3rd Street in McDowell as long as I can remember. I mean, even back in the 1980s, when I first started driving. But as you can see from the stoplight poles, it's a brand new traffic light here, and it appears they're putting in, as they're renovating 3rd Street, as Phoenix is redoing 3rd Street, they are putting new traffic lights at every intersection, like the new poles. There's more lights on them. I don't know. I didn't find that there was anything wrong with the old ones. I wish I knew the full plans of what's being done to this street. Part of me just feels like they're just trying to justify budgets, because 3rd Street really wasn't bad. There's a lot of streets in Phoenix that are bad that could use some work, and I don't feel like 3rd Street was one of them. And this construction's been taking a long time. I am really curious if the final plan is going to include bike lanes. Now, I've said many times that, and I even said that, I did a video primarily dedicated to that yesterday about how bike lanes on a stroad don't make it more bikeable, but when you're in the central corridor here, going north and south, there's really not a bicycle-friendly street. In fact, 3rd Street generally has been the most bicycle-friendly street, in spite of the fact that it didn't have bike lanes and might fall under some people's, definition of a stroad, being this 4 lanes of traffic, 2 north, 2 south. Wow, we have more traffic. Actually, this is a Hawk going in. A Hawk going in there at Oak Street. I think that's Oak Street. The street sign is gone. I wish they'd put an actual full traffic light there. We got a Hawk going in at Vernon, looks like. Although it looks like it's going to be a single light Hawk as opposed to the 3 light with the little big wag side by side red light. So that's interesting. Interesting to see how that finishes up. Been a light at Virginia as long as I can remember. It looks like they're adding left turn arrows. I don't remember there being left turn arrows at Virginia, so that could be handy. Anyway, this 3rd Street's actually always been one of the more efficient roads to ride a bicycle on. Not that it really meets the definition of bicycle-friendly road, but it tends to have significantly less traffic than all the other north-southbound streets in this general area. And generally speaking, when I'm riding a bike, I stay in the middle of the right lane and just assert my road position, and people will go around me. I get some people that are assholes, some people that'll honk or whatever, but for the most part, they'll go around me. And there's not so much traffic that people can't change lanes and go around me. Now, interestingly, on the other end of that, the actual bike route that has signs up, this is bike route, is Central Avenue. And Central Avenue used to be 3 lanes before the light rail, 3 lanes northbound, 3 lanes southbound, center turn lane that sometimes was a double turn lane, left turn lane. And if memory serves, it did have bike lanes on it. Well, since they added the light rail in, that took up so much space. It took up so much space that they had to eliminate the bike lanes. They had to eliminate one of the traffic lanes. There's still vehicular traffic on it. Granted, it's not as much. And yeah, I mean, light rail moves more people. But let's face it, in Phoenix, most people drive. Most of those people that are riding on the light rail wouldn't be driving anyway. There, at least when I ride it, it just seems to be a whole lot of people that don't have cars or are homeless. So, yeah, it's it's better transit. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I mean, yeah, transit's a good thing, but it was at the expense of lanes that were used. And one of the things that I think is bad is it was the expense of bike lanes. It's a designated bike route, but the right lane just simply has sharrows, and you have to share that lane with people. And motorists are really aggressive to they don't recognize that sharrow, the little bicycle with the arrow on it in the middle of the right lane, traffic lane, car lane, makes that a bike lane as well, and that they need to go either the speed the bicycle is going or change lanes. Like people, and I've even seen debates come up in our Phoenix on Reddit where people are like, oh, assholes on the bikes and on Central Avenue. Dude, that is the bike route. Look at the signage. Yeah. Poor choice, Phoenix. Poor choice. And honestly, I think the poor choice, to me, was putting the light rail on Central. I mean, a lot of people like the light rail on Central. It functions on Central, but a little bit of history for you. Now, there used to be a Phoenix Railway Museum right adjacent to the Margaret T. Hance Deck Park, which is the park that's above the I-10 tunnel as it crosses from 7th Street to 7th Avenue. And it was right on Central. It was on the just north of where the freeway goes under on the west side of the road. It's not there anymore, and that makes me really sad. That was a fabulous museum, one of my favorite places in the entire city, and it's gone. And it was a great place to learn about history of rail transit in Phoenix prior to the 1950s. A lot of people are unaware that Phoenix had a rail system. Phoenix had what we would call today a light rail system. It was called a trolley back then, but Phoenix had a rail system. I want to say it started in the 1890s, maybe even the 1880s. Originally, it was cars pulled by horses, and then they went electric. The Phoenix rail that existed in the 1920s through the 1950s looked a lot different, but operationally wasn't much different than what we have now. The only thing that was notably different is that the rails shared traffic lanes. So like the trolley that has just been added in Tempe, which is functioning, and a couple of the local YouTubers I follow, and I'm forgetting the names, but have posted some good videos showing riding on the trolley, and I'm going to try to remember to post a link, because I know those guys support my channel, such as it is, and I want to try to put a link in my description showing. I want to say City Life in Arizona. I'm sorry I'm forgetting your channel name, guys, but really did enjoy those videos of the Tempe trolley, and I wish I had time to go check it out myself. I'm fascinated by it, although I thought it was pretty crazy that the very first day it was in operation, there was a train car accident, which Phoenix drivers are not used to. Trains, sharing lanes with trains, and when I go to cities where I am sharing lanes with trains, I got to admit it is a little freaky for me as a driver, because I'm also not used to sharing lanes with trains. But that's how it was. That's how a lot of streetcar systems are, and that's how it was on the street directly in front of me. 3rd Street was the street that had the north-south crosstown rail, and mind you, by crosstown I mean it went from, I want to say, Washington to Indian School. There really wasn't much in the way of Phoenix north of Indian School. The city ended at Indian School, and that's where the Indian School was. That's a whole other subject for another day. What is the Indian School? Google that. Enjoy that rabbit hole. Now it's a park. It's a nice park, but it is kind of a dark bit of history. Anyway. Yeah, so that's where the rail went. It went north and south on 3rd Street. Central Avenue was a central corridor, which was being built up for car traffic, but 3rd Street was the one that had the rails. And I really wish when they brought rail back that they'd have put it right where it was. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised as they start digging up the street to rebuild it as they're rebuilding it now, that they don't find some rail. I do believe there is actually some rail underneath the asphalt in this street. At least at one time there used to be. There were times you could see. I remember there were times this was in like the 90s when I would ride a bicycle, early 90s, and I rode bicycles everywhere. I used to be an avid cyclist, used to ride about 50 miles a day, and I remember often seeing like when there were places where I could see the rail, the old steel rail, starting to peek through potholes in the road. And 3rd Street was one of the streets that had it. Anyway, it's really sad that the Railway Museum isn't there anymore, because it used to be you could go to the Railway Museum and they had, and somewhere I'm sure I kept one because I'm a hoarder like that, they had a map of the different rail systems over the years, showing it growing through the 1920s, and then from the 1920s to the 1950s, it being it shrinking as lines and routes and service was eliminated, and in the 1950s it was replaced by a more modern technology called buses. And I'll leave you with that. I'm at the clinic. I need to get inside. I'm glad I found something to talk about other than just Priscilla, because things are not good with Priscilla, and this morning has been already kind of an example of it. I do also want to talk about how last night went for me at Amazon. Kind of crazy. A week ago I did something I probably should have gotten fired for, but yet somehow earned me the admiration and respect of damn near everybody in the warehouse from the top down. And I've talked about that. I don't need to talk about Africona Bottoms anymore. Actually worked alongside him a couple times tonight. I don't know if he's afraid. I don't know what he thinks of me, to be honest. It's kind of hard. He seems intimidated by me, which is, I think, awesome, since he's like 2 levels of management above me and is generally more often than not my, direct supervisor. But, yeah, a lot happened today. Last night, this morning. I feel like it was yesterday because I've already had some substantial sleep since getting off work. But long story short, they were panicking because they didn't have forklift drivers. I heard panic about that. And I just happened to be carrying a radio, which I normally don't do. Like the management kind of, the management and management-esque tend to carry radios to communicate with. I generally don't. I just know who to talk to. Although I've long since been paying attention to the radios. If I'm next to somebody that's having, I see there's something on the radio, a lot of times I'll just be like, hey, I can take care of that. Before that person tries to delegate it, I'll be like, I can handle that. I hear what they need. I understand what that is. I'll, handle it. So anyway, I and I'm making a long story long here, but when I heard that, I just popped up on the radio myself. And granted, for the most part, I was just listening, just to kind of get a vibe of what was going on. And I was kind of reacting accordingly, trying to be the guy just magically where I need to be to help out with stuff. But when I first heard that, I popped up that, hey, this is Daniel. I do have a pit checked out, and I can certainly meet you at. She had set a dock number that the truck needed to unload it, but we didn't have anybody to do it. Blah blah blah. And I said, hey, this is Daniel. I'm going to need a little bit of guidance onto what to do, but I do have a pit checked out, and I feel confident enough in my forklift driving skills to do it if you want me to. And I think I was the voice that was not expected to appear on the radio at all. In fact, I would imagine most of the management, particularly Africa No Bottoms, heard that. It was like, why is Dan on the radio? But she bit, it's just like, okay, I'll meet you, meet me at, and grab your pit, meet me at Gate 1, Dock 149. And I did, and I don't have time for the story. I need to get into the clinic. But I ended up being the person who saved the day. If it wasn't for some very specific things that I did and there was more involved, there's no way in hell our department would have met its carton goal for the night. There's no way. An hour and a half before the end of the night, when I could hear chatter on the radio about how we were just not going to make it. We were not going to make it. And I did something that isn't procedure. Sometimes I make up my own procedure. That's how I roll. Now, mind you, I did not break any Amazon safety violations. I would imagine a lot of those are based on OSHA safety violations. I followed all the rules as far as distance between my forklift and people operating the forklift, mounting, dismounting the forklift, gates separating me from people on foot and people in pallet jacks. However, the method that I used for loading the loading zones and communicating how I was loading the loading zones was extremely unorthodox, to put it mildly, but it saved the day, and I had quite a few people from the top down. Unfortunately, Africa No Bottoms wasn't one of them, and that makes me a little disappointed. But I had quite a few people from the top down that were just like thanking me. They're just like, that was amazing. So great day at work. Didn't go home to the arms of a lover. That would have been nice, but hey, I did have a great day at work, and I'm enjoying that, even if the pay isn't what it really should be. And as I said on the news, hey, if you're not getting paid, maybe you should be looking for another job. But I'm getting very close to my signing bonus that I'm supposed to receive at 6 months, and my pay when I work overtime is really good. So there's that. Although sometimes I just need some me time to cut loose. And No, that thing is stupid. Anyway, yeah, even after that runs out, I know that I can go to other warehouses in 2 months and say, hey, I got 2 months experience operating a forklift and get paid more. I know I can, but I do feel like a valued part of the team at GYR3. And I also feel, like, particularly after the incident a week ago, where I just unloaded on the manager I unloaded on, that the other management at his level and the management above his level suddenly saw management potential in me that they never saw before, or that they maybe kind of saw but didn't see it at that level of display. And I've been kind of taking advantage of that, to the point of whenever I'm just moving around the warehouse and doing stuff and I'm around other associates, like I see new people and I try to, like I mentioned last week, that one of the more notable things that I did, and actually this is what I was doing a week ago, that was part of what led up to me nearly punching a supervisor in the face, was that I was trying to shadow a deaf associate who, it was his first bit. By the way, I worked with him a little bit alongside with him and tried to solve a problem that was going on earlier in the night while I wasn't on my forklift. And yeah, I really am making a long story longer, and it's getting hot as hell in my car since I turned off the air. Yeah, there's other new people, and I'm trying to keep an eye on everything and provide the training. Even though I'm not a learning ambassador, it doesn't mean I can't help and train and guide new people. And I know when I started, like, there were certain people who I just learned that these people know what they're doing, and these are the people I come to for answers. And it wasn't always people wearing supervisor vests, and it wasn't always people wearing learning ambassador vests, because a lot of times I was kind of intimidated by those people. I felt more comfortable asking people that were wearing just normal and worker bee vests when I had questions. So I'm trying to be that guy. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming with on the ride, and like and subscribe, because there'll be more. Wow, I got here so fast, but I still wasted 27 minutes. I just gotta get this shit out. It is what it is.